Hey, Verbic, sick thumbnail by the way. Big up, man. Big up. Yeah, big up yourself, man. Listen, big game today. Manchester United. Manchester City, Liverpool. Definitely be watching that. And obviously you can watch it really calm, knowing that my team is doing the business. 4 out of 4 for Michael Carrick. And again, you got Arsenal doing what they did yesterday against Sunderland. So now City have to respond. And as I said yesterday, City have to win this game. It's not even a draw. A draw is not really going to do too much for them. So as I said, man, I'll be watching this game. And as I said, man, I think City win today. And I think City win today. And then I think Verbic, listen, if you're gonna come on here, yeah, and start talking shit, then listen, there's no point you being on there, man. I don't need you on there if you're gonna come here and talk shit. Like, end of the day. Like, you keep coming out with all this nonsense, man. But listen, just if you're here for the football chat, then be here for the football chat, man. But you're not forced to be on there, man. It's that simple. But anyway, let's move on. So let's hope that that City can get the win. Let's hope that City can get the win, and let's hope that they can keep the pressure. They can keep the pressure onto Arsenal. Yeah, listen, if you're gonna come in there and talk football, then this is what it's about, man. It's a football channel, man. You know what I mean? So let's keep it strictly football, man, because as I said, I ain't got time for people that want to come in and talk nonsense. You know what I mean? Especially guys that don't have pictures of themselves, you know what I mean, on their profile. So, a lot of them people are usually trolls. So as I said, man, if you're gonna come here for football talk, then come on there. If not, you can bounce, man. It's that simple. But yeah, listen, we're gonna get onto it anyway, because as I said, Manchester United, everything's looking good at the moment. And as I said, summer transfer window, I think definitely, man, we can. I think we can be positive, man, with what's going on at the club at the moment. And big up to Icon Edit says dream signing, Gav. Yeah, listen. I think it's a player really that's only come into. It's a player that's really come into question as of late. I think because I think there was talk about his agent saying that more or less Tonali is gonna be on the move. The way he's talking, and what a player, man, that's gonna be available. And not only do I think Manchester United would need a player like Sandro Tonali, but I'm looking at Man City with the way that their midfield is shaping up. You think of Rodri. Rodri's has had his injury problems, and I think someone like Tonali going into Man City's midfield. I think that would be a masterstroke by Man City. But again, I think you're looking at Sandro Tonali, you're looking at Hadji Malick Diouf. I think personally, these are two signings that, we know that Man United possibly need another left back. I'd prefer to see Patrick Dorgu playing left back next season. But if Dorgu's going to be used as a winger, I mean, what a signing going to get an Hadji Malick Diouf as a left back. Malick Diouf's 21 years of age. He's got the physicality, he's got the potential as well to get better. And I definitely do think, man, that he's a player that United need to be looking at, man, for sure. And yeah, man, I just think that Man United haven't really been linked to a player like Malick Diouf. And I think, he should be someone that we're heavily looking at as to plug that left back position for me. Big up to Babs One Diva. Big up to Foxy Danny as well. We got a couple of dickheads in this chat at the moment. So, guys, if you want to just start blocking people, mods, if you start blocking people that are not going to provide anything to the channel, go ahead, man. Because, as I said, if you want to come here and talk football, then fair enough. If not, then as I said, man, you're not forced to be here. And I don't want you here if you're not going to come here and contribute to the channel, man. It's that simple. But yeah, just going back to Malick Diouf, You know, there's a couple of things that I've wrote down about Malick Diouf and about Tonali as well, because I do think these are two players that I believe in the summer. You know, I can't really see them staying at their current clubs. I think with Sandro Tonali, I think the fact that Tonali would want to be playing Champions League football next season, I think at this moment in time, it's kind of hard to think that Newcastle will get Champions League. And I think the fact that his agent has come out and said, you know, he's going to explore his options in the summer, I think that's something that Tonali is looking at, as he can go to a club that's doing better than Newcastle. And for me, I think he can go and play for any team, not only in the league, but in the world. I think he's that good, Tonali, you know. And if you remember, Man United were linked with Sandro Tonali before as well. So the fact that his agents come out and said what he said, you know, we have to be in the ring for Tonali. And I think the only way we could possibly, Manchester United, get Sandro Tonali is if we get Champions League football. And I think the way we're going at the moment, I definitely do think that Champions League football is definitely a possibility, you know. And as I said, I think Tonali, for me, I know everyone's looking at, if you're looking at a right-footed central midfielder, I know everyone's looking at Elliot Anderson. But I think the fact that Tonali could be available, you know, I think definitely, man. Yeah, I think that's definitely something that we need to be definitely in the ring for. Definitely. Guys, make sure you're smashing the likes. There's 10 of you watching and there's only 2 likes. Again, smash the likes, sub to the channel if you're new in here, and make sure you share the channel. And guys, give me your opinion as well on what you think about Hadji Malick Diouf and Sandro Tonali. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll definitely get back to your comments as well. So yeah, I'm going to go through a couple of the things that stood out to me. And again, I don't know what this is in comparison to other players in the league. So if anyone knows the comparisons of what I'm going to go through, some of the stats, then let me know in the chat. So obviously Sandro Tonali, 25 years of age, you know, obviously contract to 2028 at Newcastle with an option of a 12-month. Again, I don't know if that's a 12-month extension by the club or if that's Tonali's option. I'm not too sure. I think that might be the club, if I'm honest, you know. So I think in a sense the club kind of hold the power, but I think the fact that his agents come out is telling anyway. You know, obviously he's on 150 grand a week at Newcastle. And again, if Man United want to sign Sandro Tonali, you're looking at paying him more or less what Mason Mount's on. So again, I can only see Tonali coming to United at this stage of his career right now being on 250, because I think the fact that he could probably go and get 250 elsewhere, I think Man United will need to pay him that kind of money if he was to make the move to Old Trafford. 70 million, I think, round about his value at the moment. You know, I think it might be 75 million euros. But I'm looking at Sandro Tonali, really. If anyone wants to get Tonali, you're looking at paying about 100 million for Tonali, you know, because I think the fact that Isak went to Liverpool for, what, 150 mil, I think Tonali being one of Newcastle's best players right now, and I think if you was to pick their top 2 players, Newcastle's, Tonali's in that for me. So I think if he was to leave, you're looking at easily 100 million to get Tonali out of Newcastle. If we just look at Tonali's stats, and again, I'm looking at some of the stats I've put down is based on what he would, you know, what he kind of excels at and what he would bring to Manchester United. So he's got an 85% pass completion this season, 53% long passes completed, 65% dribbles completed, 82 duels won, 26 tackles, 23 interceptions, 6 blocks. In terms of his discipline, you know, only the 3 yellow cards, which is good. 17 fouls and then 0 red cards. So again, man, I think Tonali is an all-round midfielder, and I think what I like about Sandro Tonali is his aggression. You know, his aggression in that midfield. Because if you think we're going to lose Casemiro, you know, bringing in a Tonali that's going to provide the aggression that a Casemiro provides. You know, obviously he is experienced as well, only 25 years of age. He's experienced, you know, he's played in the Serie A, he's played Champions League football. Obviously, he's played in the Premier League now for a couple of seasons. And I think him bringing that to that Man United midfield, you know, me personally, I think is gonna be crucial. And again, he's passing. I think he's an all-round midfielder for me, to be honest with you, Sandro Tonali. You know, in terms of his dribbling, in terms of his passing, you know, as a midfielder in the Premier League, you know, I think having that as part of your game goes a long way. You know, I think definitely the defensive side of his game is very good. You know, his positioning is very good. But I'm looking at his passing and I'm looking at his dribbling as something that, because if you look at Casemiro and what Casemiro offers to this midfield, you know, I'd say Tonali's a better dribbler than him, which would be a positive. The passing, 85% passes completed. I think Casemiro, I think his passing's underrated, if I'm honest. But I think Tonali and Casemiro, you could arguably say, you know, there's not really much difference in their passing, really. And as I said, he's got the aggression. You know, he's got the press resistance as well on the ball. And I think having a Tonali in that midfield for Man United, you know, I think will be a masterstroke if Man United can somehow get that done. Now, can I see Manchester United going for Tonali, or will they go for Elliot Anderson? I think Elliot Anderson will tick the boxes in the sense of, you know, he's English, you know, he's younger. I mean, he's the name that everyone's talking about at the moment. So he might be someone that the club, you know, might pursue. But when you've got a player of Tonali's level, you know, who is Champions League proven as well, you know, you can't really turn your nose up at it as well, because if you think of how much Elliot Anderson might cost, why wouldn't you go for a Sandro Tonali, really? You know, who's more experienced. But guys, let me know what you think. Who would you go for, Sandro Tonali, or would you go for Elliot Anderson? Me personally, I think if Tonali is available, I mean, how can you not go for Tonali, in my opinion? I think Tonali's definitely someone, man, that, you know, we should be looking at for sure. You know, and as I said, just going through some of the key stats that I believe which, you know, he excels at: the passing, the long passes, the dribbles, the duels, the tackles, and the interceptions. You know, as I said, man, him bringing that to Manchester United in a team where, you know, we are on the up, and I do think, you know, with a few more signings, you know, we could be right up there challenging for the title. I think bringing in Sandro Tonali would be a masterstroke by the club, man. So let's hope we're in the ring for a Tonali. You know, I'm still gonna say Baleba is the first choice, no doubt. But if you imagine if you got a Baleba and a Tonali midfield pairing, how good that would be, because Tonali would offer the, you know, the calm and composure on the ball that an Elliot Anderson and an Adam Wharton would provide. But not to mention, he's more experienced than both of them, you know, and he's just as good, if not better than both of them, in my opinion. I think the only stumbling block it might be trying to get him out of Newcastle might be the price. But then when you actually think about it, you know, it might be a case where you might pay the same kind of money that you're going to pay for Wharton or an Anderson. So I think Tonali might be a better shout, man, in my opinion. So yeah, I'm looking at Tonali. Let's go through some of the comments, guys. Make sure you get your comments and questions in. Let me know what you think in terms of what players you would go for in that midfield area. Do you think that Tonali would be a good signing? Would you take Tonali ahead of Elliot Anderson? honestly, someone like Mariba would be better than Baleba. Yeah, Ilex Mariba's a good player. Obviously, Ilex Mariba, formerly of Barcelona. As I said, the reason why I'll take Carlos Baleba is because Baleba is left-footed for one. You know, he's Premier League proven. And if we're going to go down the route of getting Premier League proven players, then as a central midfielder, there's three guys there that, you know, everyone wouldn't be dissatisfied with. Baleba, Walton, Anderson. Again, I want Baleba because I believe if we're gonna lose Casemiro, you know, hopefully Yagate gets moved on as well. You're looking at really one midfielder, and that's Kobe Manu. So that means we would need to be bringing in at least as a minimum two midfielders. You know, I would like to see Sekou Kone, you know, be brought back in, and next season given some game time if to see if he's ready. But if I'm looking at Baleba being left-footed for the balance of the midfield, it's a must sign him for me. I know Walton's left-footed, but I think if we can get a Sandro Tonali, because Sandro Tonali is not only good in possession, but he's aggressive as well. So he's kind of like a Adam Walton in two, in a sense, and he's right-footed. So I think the fact that his agent is now making noises for him to be getting a move, I think that's what needs to happen, man. Man United need to be in the ring for a Tonali. But yeah, I do like Mariba, but Mariba, again, for me, is not really a signing that United are going to make, especially when we've got Kobe there as well, and especially when it's looking like we're going down the Premier League proven route, you know. So yeah, Baleba, Tonali, Anderson, Walton, you know what I mean? Any four of them players, I believe really we need to be getting as a minimum two. I mean, if we got three of them, then that's incredible business. But I think two of them as a minimum, you know. But I do like Mariba, but I think Baleba for me, I think the Baleba deal's done anyway. That's what I'm going to say. Someone like Kubo could be great as well, you know. Yeah, Takafusa Kubo, he's a good player. He's a good player, but we haven't really been linked with him in the past. And again, the Kubo signing doesn't make sense. You know, we've got Ahmad, we've got Mbeumo, two players that are left-footed that play out on the right. So the Kubo signing wouldn't make any sense. You know, not to mention you've got Shea Lacey who's coming through the academy as well. So yeah, the Kubo one would have been a signing that you would have looked at a couple of seasons ago, but doesn't make sense now. So yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, listen, gonna be Team Jonas today. I bet you are, man. But as I said, I think City win this today. I can see City going there, knowing what they need to do, and not making any mistakes like what they did against Tottenham, and getting the 3 points. And then obviously they play Fulham next week before Arsenal play Brentford away, which will be tough. Brentford have won their last two games as well against Villa and Newcastle. So again, by the time Arsenal play their next game, City could really be 3 points behind. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens there, man. Let's see. So, what are you talking about? So, if you look at the thumbnail, man, it's Sandro Tonali, Hadji Malick Diouf, summer signings for Manchester United. So, they're two players for me, man, that Man United should be targeting in the summer for sure, man. You know, Premier League proven is a woke thing. Look at players that didn't play for Premier League teams, like someone like Erling and Hazard. But again, I'm not saying that we have to go down the route of Premier League proven. I'm just saying that the club look like they're going down the route of Premier League proven. I've never been of the opinion that we have to go and get Premier League proven. But if you look at the fact of the situation that we're in at the moment, the fact that this league isn't the greatest, you know, it might be a smart decision, you know, to get players that are used to this league, get us back competing, and then you can start looking at gems from other leagues. So that's the question, you know, because as I said, the fact that this league is wide open. I know Arsenal at the moment are 9 points clear of Man City, but as I said, if the fastest way to get, you know, back, you would say back amongst the elite in competing, is to probably get players that are used to this league. And And that's the way I think United might be going at the moment. You know, but I've never been of the Premier League proven route. But at this moment in time, you can't really argue if they targeted Premier League proven, you know, because there is players out there right now in the Premier League, central midfielders, that have the potential to go right to the top. So that's what I think United are targeting at the moment, in my opinion. Dortmund are closing in on Bayern, only 3 points ahead. Is that true, yeah? Dortmund are only 3 points behind Bayern Munich? That can't be true. That can't be true at the moment. That can't be true. I swear Bayern Munich had a massive lead at one stage. But if Dortmund are 3 points behind, man, that's crazy. Didn't even know that. Didn't even know that. But anyway, let's get on to Hadji Malick Diouf. 21 years of age. 21 years of age. 25 million is his market value. So you're probably looking at getting Malick Diouf. I would say if he was to leave West Ham, I'd probably say between 40 to 50 million he might cost, you know. Obviously, contract until 2030 as well. So again, he's got another 4 years left. And as I said, I think 40 to 50 million would probably be fair. You know, I think if West Ham was to get relegated, which at this moment in time, I think they're in good form at the moment, then obviously you might be able to get him for slightly cheaper. But if they stay in the league, then yeah, I think 40 to 50 million is probably a possibility that he might cost. And again, the reason I like Hadji Malick Diouf is because he's got the physicality, as I said, for left back. I think defensively, you know, he does need to do a lot better. And I think that's why at times, you know, he's been playing as a wing back as such for West Ham, you know, with his pace and power. And the thing with Hadji Malick Diouf is that I became aware of him more when I see him play against England for Senegal in the friendly against England. And as I said, man, he was dominant on that left-hand side. You know, he's got a very good cross on him, as was evidenced yesterday for the goal that Tati Castellanos scored. And again, he's got the energy up and down. You know, I'm likening him to a Patrick Dorgu. You know, and I think if United are going to use Dorgu as a left winger, which I don't think they should, then maybe Hadji Malick Diouf is someone that they bring in, you know, if they want to play, you know, Patrick Dorgu further forward. And for me, 21 years of age, he's got the potential to get better. You know, I know he's playing at the moment in a West Ham team that has been good as of late, but has been struggling for the majority of the season. But he's been one of their standouts along with Jarrod Bowen. Somerville's doing his thing now. Matthias Fernandes is a very good player as well. So, yeah, I think Diouf might be someone that we possibly might be looking at. And again, if you look at the fact that we've got a lot of African players in the team now, Mazraoui, Ahmad, Mbeumo, I swear there's some, there's only 3 of them. And obviously you add him as well. And if Baleba comes in as well, you got 5 players there. So he's got 5 players that, you know, he won't feel out of his comfort zone knowing that he's got, you know, African players there, you know, that can help him settle into the club. And as I said, man, I think definitely, man, I think he's definitely someone that we need to be looking at, because if I look at the modern day fullbacks, you know, you need to have pace, power in them areas, and obviously be defensively sound as well. And I think with the what we need from that position, this is why I want Dorgu to be a left back, really, because I've always said this, you know, Patrick Dorgu for me could be our answer to Alphonso Davies, you know, in terms of the physicality, in terms of, you know, up and down, you know, occupying that left-hand side. And if you are going to play, obviously, inverted, a right foot on the left-hand side, you know, that allows you to play a player there, and knowing that you've got someone with the physicality, you know, and the pace to occupy the left-hand side, so the inverted player can come inside and start linking with the striker, you know, and the football will be a lot better as a result for me as well. So I'm looking at players like that. You know, Lewis Hall's a very good player, but I think Lewis Hall will be a difficult signing. The fact that he's English as well, he's going to cost an arm and a leg. You know, probably about 100 million for a left back, you would say. And I think Lewis Hall really is the only left back I would say that I'm looking at really as someone that would possibly be ahead of an Hadji Malick Diouf. That's realistic. You know, I like that Truther as well, who's at Bournemouth. You know, he could be a possibility. You know, but you know, if I'm looking at Malik Diouf in terms of the physicality, you know, I think he'll be someone that we should be looking at. And then again, no one in the league. So it's whether you want to go outside the league. You know, they've got a player at Eintracht Frankfurt who's a left back who's very good. Forgot his name though. If anyone knows his name, man, put it in the chat. Left back for Eintracht Frankfurt. He looks good. You know, so he could be a possibility. But I'm more looking at, are the club looking at Premier League proven first and foremost? So this is why the likes of Hadji Malick Diouf is someone that I believe, you know, should be a possibility of a signing, man. You know, and again, if we go through Diouf, you know, 16% crosses complete, which to be fair ain't great, but I think you'd expect that to be higher if he went to a better team. You know, that's more on the front foot. And then you've got 46% dribbles completed by Malick Diouf, 72 duels won, 24 tackles, 19 interceptions, 75% passes completed, and 6 blocks, the same as Sandro Tonali. And I think in terms of his discipline, only 4 yellow cards, which is decent. And then you've got 18 fouls and then 0 red cards. So again, for me, those things are important. You know, if you've got a good discipline record, then, you know, you're reliable, really. So, yeah, man, 2 players that I definitely believe United should be looking at in the summer, man. And I think if Tonali's on the market and we get Champions League football, for me personally, I'd probably say Tonali ahead of Elliot Anderson. I definitely would say that because, you know, as I said, Elliot Anderson is the player that everyone's talking about at the moment. But Elliot Anderson's not better than Tonali. And Tonali is, what, 25 years of age? You know, you would say he's at the peak of his career right now. And he's primed to go to another club, man, and start, you know, dominating in their midfield and winning trophies. And if we manage to get Sandro Tonali, mate, what a signing that would be. Because I look at modern day central midfielders and there ain't too many players like Sandro Tonali, I would say, that is high on quality, but is aggressive in the tackle as well. So, yeah, I think definitely, man, we should be looking at him. But yeah, let me know, guys, what you think. Do you think Man United should still be targeting an Elliot Anderson as a right-sided central midfielder? Or do you think Tonali would be a better shout, man? Let me know what you think. Tonali is a cheat. Wouldn't want him anywhere near Old Trafford. Yeah, listen, I don't really want to be hearing that, man, really, because there's plenty of cheaters in football, man, in general. Like, we need to put that to bed, man. At the end of the day, Tonali's a player that's gonna make us better. So if you're a player that makes us better on the pitch, then as I said, man, I don't want to be hearing none of this rubbish, really. So yeah, man, let's leave that alone. Icon says, I love Baleba. Yeah, Baleba's a top player, man. I'm not gonna say Baleba's not a good player. You know, I know he hasn't been great this season, but there's no denying, man, that he's definitely got potential. And if we don't get Baleba, then best believe, you know, the likes of a Chelsea, the likes of a Man City, you know, a Liverpool, even teams abroad, you know, I think Baleba will be a good signing for an Aston Villa, you know. But even teams abroad, you know, the PSGs, the Barças, the Real Madrids, Atletico Madrids, you know, don't be surprised if them kind of teams end up with a Baleba if we don't. So, yeah, man, we have to definitely be in the ring for that, man, for him. Palmer done well yesterday. Yeah, listen, Cole Palmer's a top player, man. You know, 2 great penalties, great finish for the 3rd one. And yeah, man. Obviously, he's had a bit of a up and down season with his injuries, but yeah, obviously when he's in the team, man, Chelsea are a much better team. So, and as I said, if you're looking at their best three players, Reece James, Caicedo, and Cole Palmer, you know, it'd be interesting to see how many times that those guys have played together and how many games they've won, because I reckon it'll be quite high. So, yeah, man, he's a top player, Cole Palmer, no doubt. Eddie Howe must go. Boy, Eddie Howe. I mean, I like Eddie Howe. I think Eddie Howe's a good manager, but they're struggling at the moment, and I think a lot of it might be to do with Champions League football, Premier League football. You know, Isak. No matter what anyone wants to say, really, I think Isak has been a big miss because he was their main source of goals. You know, Visser's obviously not been playing because he's been injured. Obviously, he's back. He's back now. Walter Marder's a very good player, but I think he's gone. I want to say, I think I heard it yesterday. I think he's gone 11 games without a goal. You know, but he is a good footballer. But he was always bound to have a bit of a barren spell. But yeah, man, I think it's definitely, it's definitely something that they're struggling with. I think definitely with the loss of Isak. You know, their midfield hasn't played together or at the same time. I don't think this for much this season. In Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes, and Joe Linton. You know, Fabian Schär obviously is out injured. You know, Malick Diouf's a new signing. He's playing with Botman, who's been out injured. Livramento, who's a massive player for them, he's been out injured as well. So yeah, man, it's been an up and down season for Newcastle. But to sack Eddie Howe, yeah, I wouldn't say Eddie Howe deserves to be sacked. Not for me, man. Big up to Ashy. Is it Ash Bizarble? Yeah, big up for coming through. Guys, come on, make sure we're smashing this likes. Make sure we're smashing these likes. And again, man, yeah, as I said, I don't believe they get Champions League football next season. And if Eddie Howe is still there, which I believe he should be, then who knows, man? They might have another good run. But juggling Champions League football and Premier League football, you know, it hasn't always been the thing that Newcastle do. So this is probably where I think they're having to adjust, I would say. You know, if you look at their signings as well, you know, Elanga hasn't really been a great signing. You know, he had a good season last season with Nottingham Forest, but he hasn't really done nothing for Newcastle. As I said, Visser's been out injured. You look at what's the other signings they've made? They made 3 signings: Tio, Visser, and Walter Marder, and Elanga. Yeah, I think the only signing really you could say that has been a relatively success in a sense is probably Walter Marder in a sense, because I think he's been a success in terms of, you know, what he's given to Newcastle. But again, you know, he hasn't scored in his last 11 games. But again, he provides a lot more for them, in my opinion. Malick Diouf, I think, has been decent, but you know, they're not really keeping clean sheets. So yeah, it's difficult really. But I definitely do think that the loss of Isak, you know, has probably kind of killed him in a sense. But yeah, you have to wait and see, man. But if they lose Sandro Tonali, then yeah, man, that'll be a massive hole for them to fill, man. You know, because who do you go and get to replace Tonali of that level? That's the difference, you know. Because I don't think because I think Tonali's better than Bruno Guimaraes. I definitely think he's better than him. Obviously, Joe Linton, obviously, he's been in and out of the team with injury as well. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see, man. But, yeah, who knows? Who knows, man? But, it's one of them things, really, that Tonali, for me, will definitely be on the move. He'll definitely be on the move, man, for me. But who knows, man? But, guys, anyway, we're going to wrap it up. big up to yourselves for coming through. Let me know what you think about Sandro Tonali. Let me know what you think about Hadji Malick Diouf as well. Do you think they're two players that should be targeted by Manchester United in the summer? Or do you think United should be looking at other players to kind of to fill the void? You know, I'm looking at players that we need. Yeah, big up to Liam, man. Big up for coming on. I'm looking at players that Man United need to be, or positions that we need to be signing. I'm looking at left back, if we're not going to play Dorgu there. Left wing, as I said, I prefer the inverted right foot on the left. And then obviously central midfield is key. You know, we have to get two players in central midfield as a must, in my opinion. So, yeah, let's see what happens. But I don't think we need to... yeah, listen, Icon, man, I would definitely say if we manage to get a midfield of Baleba and Tonali, then that's a great midfield for me, man. Baleba, Tonali, you know, Kobe can move into the number 10, you know, or Kobe can play as a number 8 as well. But yeah, listen, I think if we got them two together, that would be a very good midfield, man. I would go as far and say, you know, as a midfield pairing, you know, that could be probably one of the best pairings in the league, a Baleba and Tonali. You know, but I do still think, you know, if we can't get a Walton or an Anderson, you know, to go with Baleba, then yeah, Tonali, man, for me would be a massive signing, you know. And I think Tonali might actually cost what probably you might pay for Elliot Anderson. And I think, as I said, man, who would you go for, Tonali or Anderson? That's the question. But yeah, let me know what you think. Smash the like button, sub to the channel, share the channel. And yeah, we'll be back tomorrow, guys. Normal time, 5:30 with Fitz and Jonas. And yeah, let's see what happens today, man. Man City versus Liverpool is going to be a massive game. And as I said, I think if Man City don't win this game, a point isn't the end of the world. But if they was to lose this game, you probably have to start saying that, you know, Arsenal might just have one hand on the trophy, man, as much as I don't want to say it. But this is why it's an important game for both. You know, Liverpool trying to get into the Champions League. Obviously, seeing Man United and Chelsea both win. So they're going to need to know that they got to win this game. And obviously, City need to get the 3 points to keep the pressure on Arsenal. And as I said, if they get the 3 points, I expect them to beat Fulham, who have lost their last 2 games, before Arsenal play Brentford, which will be a tough game away. And then all of a sudden, you know, that gap's been cut again. But it starts today for Man City, and they need to win this game. So I'm gonna say 2-1. I'm gonna say 2-1 City as well. You know, I'm gonna say 2-1 City. But then again, I wouldn't even be surprised if City went there, you know, and got a couple of goals and beat them 2-0, 3-1. So I think City will look at this game today as a game that it's all or nothing. You know, they can't afford to drop any more points. So yeah, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, as I said, big up yourselves, smash the like button, sub to the channel, share the channel, and I'll catch you guys back on Monday. Take it easy.